It's 3 o'clock, which means it's time for our bear dinners. Today we actually have a very special broadcast going out. This would normally be the weekend of the Lily Pad Picnic, which is a big fundraiser here at the Bear Center. But this year, due to COVID and other unforeseen circumstances, we had to go about it a little bit different way. So I just wanted to reach out and thank the Northwoods Bear Foundation and the Lily Pad Picnic Committee for organizing the Ambassador Bear Bag fundraiser for our bears. So today they're going to be receiving those bags for their dinners. Just so everybody knows what the bags contain, they are decorated by our interns here at the center, and then they were given to the bears, and people were allowed to donate towards each bag in order to help present it to the bear. So first off, we were going to have Holly. She was just down here, so we'll see what happens here. I could see our staff mounting up right there to feed. Like Holly is down front, so she's going to get her bag first. The winner for the Holly bag was Cindy Schiff, and Justin, our intern Justin, is going to be presenting the bag to Holly. Just so everyone knows what's in those bags, we have a mixture of watermelon, apples, grapes, nuts, cranberries, romaine lettuce, and milk bones. They are roughly about 5 pounds a piece, and that does constitute a typical normal dinner here at the North American Bear Center for our bears. So it's not something super out of the ordinary. It'll just be interesting to see what they do with the bag. Some of our bears like to take the bag lunch and take their dinner to go. Others will tear right into it right in front of you and rip it apart and eat it right there on the spot. So we'll see what Holly does here. Again, the winner of the Holly bag was Cindy Schiff, and Justin, our intern Justin here, is going to present Holly with her bag. You see Holly not so patient to grab that, and she looks like she's going to be one of the bears who likes to rip directly into it. You can see she's sniffing it. Now, the bears have a very good sense of smell. It's categorized as about 10 times greater than that of a bloodhound dog, so a pretty good sniffer. Now, you can see she tore right open. She's going to look immediately for her favorite foods, and if you look off to the right, here comes Lucky Bear. Lucky Bear is noticeably larger than our female Holly here. Lucky's a male. And he is going to get his bag presented by our intern, Allison. The winner of the Lucky Bag was Jay Bowman. Jay Bowman was the winner of the Lucky Bag and is presented by our intern, Allison. And Lucky is one of the bears who likes to take his dinner to go. So you can see he's more than happy grabbing that bag, and he's probably going to walk right into that shady spot there. He's a little more comfortable eating it right there simply because of the temperature. He's usually not shy in front of crowds, so we think it's more to do with temperature and his comfortability eating in the shaded area there. Also, they do prefer to eat in a spot they feel safe. Lucky obviously feels very safe above the rock den there in the shaded trees. So I actually thought Holly would go for those red grapes first. Red grapes happen to be one of their more favorite foods here at the North American Bear Center that we feed the bears, but she's actually going after something else. It looks like it's the mixed nuts that she's going after. I can't really get a clear view, but it looks like that's what. Oh, it's no one on the deck's fault. Don't feel free to stay where you are. I just can't. She's under the deck right now, so it's hard for me to see. But typically they go right after those red grapes. They're one of their favorite foods. They actually highly prefer them over green grapes, which typically I think most people are in par with. The red grapes typically taste a little bit sweeter, so they are a little bit more enjoyable. But Holly usually goes for those right away. She didn't today, which is very interesting. The other two bears will be getting their bags off the pond cam. For those of you here at the center watching on the deck and the viewing windows, they're going to be fed in their private enclosures. Ted's private enclosure does have his own camera, though, so you can always see what Ted's up to. So for those of you visiting today, if you want to see what Ted's up to, or any of the bears are up to, on a different day, quite can't make it to the Bear Center, feel free to log on to bear.org and check us out there. All of our programs are free, and they are live 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can always check them out and see what's going on. The Ted bag, the winner of Ted bag was Jackie Witha, and our intern Anna will be presenting that bag to Ted. Tasha's bag was won by Sydney Landero, and that will be presented by Lydia, our intern Lydia. So thank you to all of those of you that helped with that fundraiser. We do really appreciate it. we were able to raise $1,715. So again, thank you so much to the Northwoods Bear Foundation and the Lily Pad Picnic Committee for organizing this event and putting it on for us. It was a very, very successful fundraiser for us, with again $1,715 coming in for bear food. We very much appreciate all of those who donated, and a special thanks again to those organizations for putting that on. We really appreciate it. I'm personally really sorry that we didn't get to have a lily pad picnic this year. I've really come to enjoy those over the past few years working here at the North American Bear Center. It is unfortunate that we won't be able to have one this year, but that means we'll just have to double down for next year and make next year's that much better than it would have been. So again, thank you to those organizations. We really appreciate it. Holly's still working on her bag of goodies there. She has since moved on to the red grapes, so now she's eating those. So depending on time of year, the bears do prefer different foods depending on the time of year. Whatever available seasonally in the woods is what they typically prefer. Now in captivity, obviously it's a little different. We can feed the bears, but we choose to feed them. They also do have wild natural food sources available. We were actually in the enclosure this morning, the main 2.5-acre enclosure, myself and the interns, pulling weeds. We're trying to get rid of some invasive plants that are scattered amongst the enclosure. One of the more harder to get rid of and very aggressive ones is tansy. While we were pulling it, I did happen to have some time to look around, and I saw a lot of the beaked hazel plants that we have, which produce hazelnuts. It's one of our most common understory plants here in the Northwoods. All the hazelnuts look great in the enclosure. We don't do any extracurricular watering. We do have the pond, obviously, but it's not used to water any of the plants. And the hazelnuts look great, which is awesome because the berry crops this year have mostly failed. So that's really tough when that happens for the wild bear populations. They typically have to move out and find other sources of food. Berries are a huge part of their normal diet. This year, though, I'm going to go ahead and assume that they're probably moving on to human sources, and we do typically have more nuisance bear issues on years like this with the droughts we've been having. Now, if you've been needy for the past week, you're probably like, what drought are you talking about? It's rained every other day. That is true, but our springtime, we received little rain. We were almost 80 inches behind our typical rainfall for the year. So I think we have caught up a little bit with those past few storms, but we're still far behind. Although the hazelnuts are looking good, a lot of the other berries not looking so good. I have several different berry patches that I visit outside of work to pick wild berries because they are delicious. Most of those patches are all but dry. You'll have a few single berries on a few different bushes, but that's it. The same bushes that produced huge quantities of berries last year, or just have one or two this year. So it is unfortunate, but that's how nature goes, and that's part of one of the things that limits that black bear growth, population-wise and individual growth. Some years in the wild is just harder than others. The bears have to go through this. Luckily, our bears here at the Bear Center, they do not have to go through hard food years. If the wild foods in the enclosure are lacking, we can supplement that. We do weigh the bears weekly to make sure they're hitting target weekly weights. This year, the bears have been on track, with the exception of Tasha. She's been above track most of the year. She has just been super food motivated this year. Typically during mating season, which is about the month of June up here in the Northwoods, the bears will lose weight because they are fixated on mating, not eating. This year, though, Tasha kept gaining weight the entire time. So she's currently sitting at about 300 pounds. So she's similar to that when she goes into hibernation. And she has surpassed Holly, who you see down front here. Holly used to be our biggest and largest female. Now she's not. She's still the oldest female, and that will never change, at least till she leaves here. But she will always be our oldest female. But now Tasha has surpassed her in weight, so it'll be interesting to see in the next coming years if any kind of dominance is to change, because currently Holly is the dominant bear of the entire enclosure. That's how it works in the bear world. The females are the dominant of the two sexes, so Holly, being our oldest and previously largest female, was automatically the dominant. In the wild, if you're a male bear, you have one goal, and that's to reproduce. You can't reproduce with a female that doesn't like you, so you spend your time trying to court those females. That's what makes them the dominant. Here in captivity, stuff does get a little bit different. The bears aren't in a normal wild setting, or as normal as the wild setting would be, so it does get a little different. Occasionally, Lucky will push past that dominance and think he's the dominant bear. So again, in captivity, it's a little different, but most of the time, Holly, by far and away, is the dominant bear, and what she says goes. Even though Lucky is twice her size and double her age, he typically, I would say, about 80 to 90% of the time still listens to what she has to say, and there's that other time where he just chooses not to listen. Again, that's something that you probably only see in captivity. In the wild, the male bears are submissive to the female. Now, Lucky and Holly both kind of take their time when eating as compared to Tasha, for example. She is a very, very fast eater. She doesn't leave any scraps typically. These two, not quite as fast, but they are more normal speed. And you can see how Holly's already kicked. She just finished the watermelon. That's the rind sitting here, that yellow piece. And then there's an apple next to that. Apples right now are not preferred. They'll typically start to prefer them later in the year when they would naturally be available to them in the wild. They will eat the apples, but typically right now, if they're well fed, they'll avoid the apples. They just don't have as much nutritional value to the bears right now, so for that reason, they neglect to eat them. Other animals will clean those things up. There's many other animals that come and go as they please into the bear enclosures that are small enough to either fit through the gaps or climb / fly over, so they'll go ahead and clean those up. We do have a lot of animals that will actually sit here at 4 o'clock, which is when we close, and wait to swoop in to see what the bears have left. I'm going to pause for a moment and just see if anybody out here on the deck with me has any questions they'd like to ask.
So if my glasses fell off right next to the bear, are they the bears now?
So the question was, if a guest were to lose their glasses out here on the observation deck, do they become the bears? And to put it quite simply, yes. Yes, they do. They become the bears. We've had cell phones, wallets, and all kinds of things fall off, and all we can do is kind of cross our fingers and hope that Holly doesn't crush them or ruin them. Most of the time, if it's not food, they really don't care. They'll sniff it for a little bit. She might put it in her mouth or play with it a little bit, but then she'll get bored with it pretty easily. If it doesn't smell like food. If you just happen to be eating some Cheetos first and then dropped it, that might be another story. But typically, if there's no food involved with it, they'll leave it after sniffing it, and then we can hop over and grab it for you. But we do warn people on the behind-the-scenes tours about that. We do carry around food pouches. The bears know what a food pouch is, but they don't know the difference between a food pouch and a purse. So that's why we have the line on the behind-the-scenes tours. If you get too close to the fence, they just may reach out and take it from you and try to search it for treats. We can get all this stuff back. It's just obviously not going to be in the same condition. So that's why we keep that stuff to a minimum. But, yeah, you're right. If it falls through, it's the bears now, and it's really up to them if they let us have it back. So Holly since moved up to the rock den to finish that melon that she had. I thought she had finished it, but it looks like she hasn't. So she's going to go ahead and finish that right there. And she left the romaine and the apple. So those are typical for them to leave. The romaine's actually preferred much more in the beginning of the year when they're eating lots of the grasses because it's very similar, very nutritious for the bears actually. A lot of people don't think about them eating grass, but even at this time they do spend a decent amount of time grazing on clover and grass. It's just very nutritional for them, offers a lot of easily digestible nutrients. Now, Holly is about finished up. I can't really tell you an update on Lucky, considering he's in the woods there, but I'm going to wrap up the broadcast here. Again, I just want to thank the Northwoods Bear Foundation and the Lily Pad Picnic Committee for all that they do for the Bear Center, but especially for this year. We really appreciate your help. We could not have done this without you guys, so we really appreciate that with the fundraiser. Again, we were able to raise $1,715 for bear food here at the Bear Center, and we are very appreciative of that. And this is just our little celebration broadcast for that with the presentation of the special bear bags for our bears. So, again, thank you to all who participated. We are very grateful here, and thank you for all for tuning in today and being here at the Bear Center. Those of you that are here today, I just want to thank you. We are a nonprofit, so we make our money and all of our operating costs and things like that based on your admission price and gift shop sales. So we really, really appreciate you coming in and paying today because if not, we wouldn't be here and we would not be able to do what we do. So thanks for coming in. Thanks for donating. We really appreciate it. I know Ted, Lucky, Holly, and Tasha really appreciate y'all coming in here and visiting and spending your money with us. So thanks again. Our next broadcast is going to be tomorrow at 11 o'clock. For those of you who can't make it to the Bear Center, you can tune in online at bear.org at our live cameras. For those of you that will be here today, we'll all see you tomorrow. Thanks again, and everyone have a wonderful day.